Okay, g'day guys. We are back again with our week 2 match. Yes, we are slightly more consistent with the uploads this week. Very good. We're not going to be like a week between videos like it was between our first two. Um, I apologize for that. Obviously, real life things, trying to set up this channel made it a bit slow, but we're back and we're up against one of our good friends, SVTornado, and his team, the Dutch Pyroars. I'll leave a link to his channel down in the description. And currently at the moment he is waiting on computer parts, but he will be uploading very soon in the near future. He's got another couple of good leagues coming, so go check him out, drop him a sub, all that good shit. But yeah, let's get into it. He also managed to pick up a loss in his first week, so I was like, okay, at least we're going up against someone that is sort of in the same boat as us, like 0-1. Hopefully that means I'm not going to come up against like a super strong battler like we did in week 1 with Ryan being like crazy good. But we've got, so looking at his team, if you've obviously can see the 6 on the layout. He's got a couple of things in the back like the Registeel. He's got a Whimsicott. He's got a Lowland Ninetales, and a couple other things. He's also got a Stunfisk, so which I really wasn't bothered about because it's a Stunfisk really. But if you look at that, he's got 2 defensive mons, really, and or well 3 if you sort of count the Alolan Ninetales, if it runs a bulkier set with the Veil. He's got the Registeel and the Whimsicott, and those have a big glaring fire weakness. And so, well, I went Entei can kind of just click Sacred Fire and over again, because the only thing that wants to switch in is, or like the Moltres and like the Gyarados and Terrakion resist it, but with a 50% chance to burn, Gyarados and Terrakion really can't afford that. So Moltres is his only switch in, so I was like, well, Sacred Fire and Stone Edge. We got Extreme Speed for his frail mons, like the Zydog, like the Hooper, and like the Beedrill, who we can come in and revenge. Choice Band to just do a hell of a lot of damage. Like Adamant Choice Band, some of the calcs here are ridiculous from memory. And then I throw on Stomping Tantrum, just to hit like some things. It was a middle ground play sort of move, like if the Beedrill was low, I could hit that, click that, and then you cover the Terrakion switch, you cover the Registeel somewhat. Like it was sort of a middle ground play. It also covered the Stunfisk, not that I ever saw that coming. But yeah, so it was that's Clifford. He's making his debut. He's nice and shiny because he has to be, because he's got extreme speed. But he's our big red dog. And our other debut this week is Hitmonlee. Drumstick, Hitmonlee. He's carrying the Misty Seed. He's the Unburden. You can see that we're bringing in a Finny, so it's going to come in while the train's up. Misty Seed's going to pop. He's going to get a nice SPDF boost to go along with his actual pretty decent SPDF stat, as you can see here. Like, it's pretty bulky. And we got Close Combat, Stone Edge, and Blaze Kick just sort of ran his team. I couldn't really see a better move that I like, so I was like, bulk up maybe. If like I bring this thing in on a Reggie, he's gonna switch out straight away, so I could maybe get a bulk up there. Something else that maybe like with the Misty Seed boost, I could potentially live a hit from some of his more special mons, like I don't know, maybe probably not a Lowland Ninetales, but a Moltres perhaps. And then yeah, if I got +1, then I kind of just win. I also can kind of just clean late game because his team is very fast, and this was my answer to speed control because I didn't really like scarfing anything this week. So moving on, we've got Pearl, our Tapu Fini. Pretty similar set to last week. We got the leftovers, we got Dual Stab, we got Carmine to Defog. Defog is there because Veil gave me huge problems. Like, if he gets Veil up and then just, like, sits a Hooper or a Terrakion or a Gyarados behind it, it's like, well, shit, what do I do now? And then Carmine was sort of like, I didn't really know what to do with this last move. I figured things like Gyarados, things like Alolan Ninetales, if it's not like super offensive or nasty plot, can't really touch me. So if I'm in, I might get a chance to like click one Carmine, and then I can fire off some big hits. Like, he's very frail team, so if I get a boost, then I'm hitting massive damage. And it just seemed like a good option to have. Not something that I really looked to use, but just sort of one of those options to have. I didn't really have a better fourth move this week. We got Alolan Mark coming this week. Looking at his team, He has like 2 or 3 sort of really offensive special attacking threats that I needed to have checks for. A special Hooper Unbound set, the Moltres, and the Alolan Ninetales. And Muck kind of deals with all of them. Like, we've got Hooper, which, I mean, dual stabs do nothing to Muck. Coverage is like, you're not going to be super effective. Like, what's his best move to hit us with? Hidden Power Ground, maybe? Like, yeah, that'll hurt a little bit, but we got the Berry. And Poison Jab can do a lot back because he's kind of frail on the physical side. Moltres, same thing. Like, we're neutral to his stabs, but unless he's like a crazy boosting set, he can't really beat us 1v1. And he doesn't appreciate a knockoff or a Poison Jab. We've got not Gyarados, Alolan Ninetales, which just does not want to take a Poison Jab. Obviously, it's super effective being he's part Fairy type. And it was like dual stabs, too great. Curses, I mean, he's got Psydog, he's got Terrakion with Earthquake, most likely. So I'm going to need a couple up if I actually want to sweep, but that wasn't the goal this week. It was more sort of, I might get into a situation where I can get one up and then live a hit from something coming in and hit it back pretty hard, being at +1. But yeah, that's our Muck this week. So then we got Boeing the Laddie, who was sort of a bit of a support mon this week. Like, obviously he's still max special attack, timid, so he's going to be hitting pretty hard with Psychic and Ice Beam, doing at least neutral to everything, well, including the Hooper, but like, I don't want to stand on that Hooper. Like, Ice Beam won't be doing too much because it's a little bit bulkier on the special side. And then obviously if he fires off a Hyperspace Fury, a Dark Pulse, then Laddie is not having fun there. But it also was Tailwind. And I was like, well, I can't rely solely on Hitmonlee for speed control this week because that's a one-time thing. And his team's very fast. Like, very, very fast. So I was like, well, Tailwind on Laddie means that if I can get in something like Entei or a Tapu Fini, then I can actually start outspeeding things. And especially Entei, if I can start outspeeding things and just clicking Sacred Fire, that could do a lot to a lot of the members of his team. And then Roost there for a bit of longevity. You know, the first 2 moves hit nicely. I could have maybe run like T-Bolt for Gyarados, but I just like the idea of Roost to keep myself healthy and be able to get the Tailwind off, hopefully. And then Reginald our Butler is back this week. He's got the Wish Protect set. He's going to keep our boys healthy. He's going to keep Pearl. He's going to keep Muck, like Clifford, all those guys without the most reliable recovery, especially if Muck loses his berry. He's going to keep them nice and healthy with that thick 110 base HP state. We're running max HP, so a lot of our guys are actually going to be getting about 65% of their health back from him. Licky Licky Wish, which is great. And then he's got Dragon Tail Return. Return, because this is our Beedrill answer, Return actually hits that thing really hard. Like, Beedrill has no base defense. It's very frail. One of the reasons holding Beedrill back from being one of the best megas, in my opinion. And Return does really well. And then Dragon Tail for his plethora of setup mons. Like, you've got... I don't even really need to name them all. You've got Hooper, you've got Gyarados, you've got Terrakion, you've got Beedrill with its Fell Stinger, you've got the Alolan Ninetales, which he left in the back. Like, all those things can just set up all over you. Yes, Alolan Ninetales, you can't actually Dragon Tail, so... Oh well, but we have Muck for that. So he has a plethora of setup mons, and I'm like, I need Dragon Tail this week, because, especially Gyarados, if that thing comes in and just starts getting a couple of Dragon Dances up, it can run my team. So yeah, now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to get into the battle here, and we are going to see what we lead. So looking at his team here, I decided that I don't really see him leading off with Zygarde, because that thing does really nice to my team. Same with Terrakion, so I was like, I can kind of see him leading Beedrill, I can kind of see him leading maybe Hooper or Moltres or Gyarados. So I was like, Muck matches up pretty well. So I led Muck, and you can see that he led Terrakion, a jack of all trades, and I need to get the hell out of there. So I go into my Terrakion counter in Tapu Fini as he misses the stage, and I'm like, great. So I got Fini in for free. It's like we led this pair, and I can just fire off a fat Moonblast. Kind of expecting Gyarados to come in to eat the surf, but he goes into Beedrill. I do a nice 20%, and we go on to Reginald, which is our Beedrill counter, as he goes for the poison jab. As you can see, we take 40%. We can't get poisoned because of the terrain. And we're at a nice healthy 67% here. And I can just go for a big fat wish to be able to recover some of our HP. And now Gyarados is probably going to click Dragon Dance here. So I'm just like, well, this is why we brought Dragon Tail. I can Dragon Tail this thing out. It does a whole 9%. Whew, step back. And we get our wish back. And now we're sitting at 90% health. And he's in with his Moltres. So I'm like, I can probably take a hit from this thing. I'm going to get a Gauge on set. I'm just going to throw up another wish. I'll be back at half, so I can now switch into something. I figured he wasn't going to be Z Solar Beam, so I'm like, Finny's a pretty good check here. He's going to Flamethrower. It's going to do 20%. And then I'm going to get that all back from the wish. So we're in a good spot here. I can just fire off a Moonblast here, because he's never going to stay in a Moonblast to his team well. But I went for Surf, because I'm like, Z Solar Beam's the thing. And Gyarados comes in, and I'm like, well, I can just Moonblast, because he can't really hit me with anything. From memory, Gyarados doesn't get any poison-type moves. So I'm like, Iron Head, maybe? Which is what he goes for, which does a whole 27% at +1. I'm like, I can eat that. And 2 more Moonblasts will take it down. So this turn, I'm like, okay, well, I can just click Moonblast again and take it down. But as you'll see, I flinch. And I'm like, oh, that actually kind of matters a lot, because now I'm going to have to take another one, be quite low to the point where I can't switch in. And the Leftovers recovery has actually put him out of range. So I fire off another Moonblast, hoping for maybe a bit of a higher roll to be able to kill it. But now I'm at 32%. If I take another Iron Head, Finny is kind of useless. So I'm like, he's not clicking anything else. I'm going to go into Clifford. It's going to do about 20%, which is like, Clifford doesn't have any recovery, so I don't like him taking damage, considering how good he is. But the Gyarados is gone. Down to an extreme speed. So I'm like, okay, that's at least something. As he brings in Terrakion, and I go into Bowing here, because I'm like, I expected the close combat. He goes for the Stone Edge, and now Bowing is very weak. I think I outspeed here. Turns out he's Scarf. Scarf Track was a good bring by him, but now that I know he's Stone Edge, and he can't CC, I can go into Reginald, I can throw up a Wish, and yeah, so he goes into Beedrill here. I'm like, well, he either U-turns and I hit something that comes in, or I do a lot of damage. And as you can see, Licky with like no attack investment, or 4 EVs in attack, does 76% of this Beedrill. I'm like, he can't stay in. Beedrill's too good for him. So I'm like, I'll throw up a Wish here. I can either protect to get it back, or I can switch into something. As he brings in Terrakion, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want this health on Reginald, so I'm going to see what he locks himself into. He locks himself into Stone Edge here. And I'm like, okay, Reginald is back at full. So I can go for another Wish here. Just sort of, I can stall him out of Stone Edges here. Or until he misses one. And I'm just like, well, now I can take one. So I'm like, I'm just going to return, do a little bit of chip. But he switches in Beedrill. And I'm like, hell yeah. Licky getting a kill here. And so the Beedrill goes down. That thing was a big threat, like speed tier wise to my team. And also just a big threat to my Finny. I'm like, well, I can live a close combat from this Tarak. And the defense drop could be nice. I'm going to force him to lock himself into it. And then I'm going to go into Finny, because I know I can live one. And I'm like, I need some health. And this is what I was talking about before. You can see it does 23%. I'm down at 9%. But getting this Wish back puts me up to 77% after Leftovers recovery. And I'm like, I'm nice and healthy. And I can just fire off a nice fat Surf, because nothing resists it. As he goes into Hooper, and I'm like, well, the way you brought this in, he knows I'm physically defensive. He's going to be a special Hooper. And just looking at his team comp. So I go into Mark, he eats that Thunderbolt, and I can just go for a nice Poison Jab, because I was like, actually at this point, him being Scarf Track helps me a lot, because Laddie is gone. So I'm like, I didn't want to knock off, because I thought that thing was coming in. As he goes for Earthquake, which now I just decided to sack off Reginald. I'm like, everything's nice and healthy at this point. So Reginald's kind of done its job. It killed the Beedrill. It threw around some wishes. Now Pearl is nice and healthy, as I can go back into Pearl and Moonblast. And that does a big chunk to this Hooper. But I still don't want Pearl taking any damage here. So I'm going to go into Muck. He's going to take a Thunderbolt. I don't pop my berry, but the second Thunderbolt does, which means I'm up to 80%, and I can just finish this thing off with a Poison Jab. And looking at it now, we are actually up 4-3, and we're in a good spot. And he comes into Zydog, and I'm like, well, nothing wants to take this, because, well, Hitmonlee, I can't afford to break it, and it's frail as hell. Entei's weak, and I need health on Finny. So I'm like, well, I'll go in. And I'm just going to pause it here. And I'm like, well, judging from that damage on Finny, this thing's banded. And I'm like, oh shit. There's a very good chance that I don't kill it here. And, which, as you can see, I haven't. And now I don't have a Terrakion answer. And if you look up here, Misty Terrain runs out in one turn because I don't have the Terrain Extender. I am not feeling the greatest about this at the moment. I'm like, well, Hitmonlee wins me the game. Hitmonlee flat out wins me this game. It's got Stone Edge, which will obliterate that Moltres, and Close Combat, which like flattens the Terrakion. So what do I do here? I'm like, well, I can't do much. I decide that, look, hey, Finny needs to kill this thing because I can't afford to let Entei in. I just go for the Surf there because it hits the other two mons super effectively and it'll kill this Zygarde. But I'm like, well, Finny needs to switch out because I need that terrain to win. And I go into Clifford and I'm like, he actually lives this Earthquake. And I'm like, well, okay, I can switch into Finny because it does nothing. It'll still let me get my terrain up and I'll just sack it off to this Earthquake. So now I can bring in Hitmonlee. And I'm like, right. Close Combat, like, wipes the floor with this thing. And then I have a Stone Edge for the Moltres, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm actually not at minus Spit F thanks to my boost, so I can probably live this unless he's like Hurricane or something like that. And I miss the Stone Edge. And then he pops a Z Fire Blast at me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this game just now came down to me hitting a Stone Edge. Oh, I'm just going, whoops, I've forgotten to take a few things off the layout here, but as you can see, we end up getting a 1-0 victory by 6% of health against SV. It should have been a 2-0 if Hitmonlee had his glasses on. But thankfully Clifford, being the MVP, I said he'd do a lot of work this game. And he has. He picked up that vital kill there. And he also picked off the Gyarados. So 2 kills to Clifford. I'm now 1-1. I'm feeling a lot better about myself after this week. And that'll be all. So as always, if you've got any suggestions or just any comments in general, leave them down below. I will get back to each and every one of you. But until next time, I will see you all in the next video.